stage. It was 3 stages because the stag night was done in 2 parts. I don't know if you know that. Well, I'm here to tell you. Part 1 was a lad's trip to Tenerife on the pretense that we were playing golf. And part 2 was a lad's out into the dog track. And whilst I'm on the subject of the dog track, I would just like to say a special thank you to Dale Robbo for doing an impromptu impression of Olga Corbett in the Nag's Head car park. Very good, that, Dale. For those of you who missed it, I'm sorry, but you're just going to have to use your imagination. Apart from the bruises, no evidence exists of that event. So if you want to take a look at Dale's bruises, that's the only way. I think Mark Brown must have been taking a piss or something at the time, because he either got it on tape. It's on YouTube. You're in good company, Dale. 5 million hits, Dale, and it still doesn't hurt as much as your leg. However, there is plenty of other evidence of the events of those nights, and I'll return to that in a moment. But now I'd like to return to part 1 of the stag night, Tenerife. Oh, you didn't think you were going to get away with it that easy, did you, Miller? Come and gone like that. Above all else, about Tenerife, I would like to say to Sue, thanks for letting him go. Even though you weren't married at the time, but I know you must have had reservations about 3 good-looking lads and Tony heading off to get pissed in the sun. Sorry, I mean to play golf. I know people probably told you that he loves you, you've got nothing to worry about. Well, I'm here to tell you, they were right. Seriously, you did have nothing to worry about. But, as you went there to see it for yourself, I've got a little memento, it's easy for me to say, of the occasion for you to cherish. So, Sue, nosy aren't you, eh? Ladies and gentlemen, it's now time to open the envelopes that you may have noticed on your tables. So I'll just give everyone a little minute to digest the contents and then I'll explain a little. It has been censored, by the way. It has been censored. Pass those photos around the table, there's 1 on each table. I've been slightly censored, but there you go. So the speech will be a bit shorter now anyway. I don't know. Let's get them to pass them down anyway. I know, mate, yeah. I probably crossed the line there. I haven't got a lot of common sense. I'm blessed with a good singing voice. Natural comedy talent. But common sense, I'm a little bit short of in that department. I probably crossed the line, Sue, didn't I? But I've got a CD with that photograph on later, on my screen at the back, and once the people who might be offended leave, I might just stick that on. So, you probably had a chance to look at the photographs by now. Can I just say the first picture, Tony with his belly out, that was taken in a nightclub in the resort of Los Cristianos about midnight on the Friday night. Just in case you are wondering about that photograph, yes, that is his real belly. There's nothing like stuffed under there or anything. And yes, he is asleep, standing up. I wish I could learn how to do that. He's learned that from the pulp, by the way, his job. You learn all kinds of things in that place, let me tell you. I don't think it was Yale that made him fall asleep, though. I think he must have got a touch of sunstroke on that nose of his. And there's a couple of photographs in there as well, just to prove that we did, in fact, actually play golf. So, Sue, I'm sure having looked at those photos, any niggling doubts you might have had about Tenerife have now been firmly extinguished. Right, how am I doing, Miller? Gonna let me be best man at your next one, or what? Ooh, I don't know about that. Now, as you probably know, it's traditional for the best man to include a few amusing stories of some of the stupid things the groom's done over the years. So, what can I say really about Tony? The lad that changes his car every 2 months so the drug squad won't get onto him. Well, I could tell you about the time, things like when Tony took a girl back. It's only mild, this, Sue. I'm under instructions not to give any references to sort of previous conquests. I've got 2 references in, they're old ones, Miller. Well, this one's not too old, actually. Old enough that Sue wouldn't get bothered by it, though. Tony took a girl back to his mate's house after a night out. Nothing wrong with that. It just so happens the girl in question was deaf.
Oh no.
Nothing wrong with that. It was probably a blessing really, she didn't have to listen to Miller talking shite all night.
That story, this one tells the full story.
Come to think of it, pity she wasn't blind too, she wouldn't have to see in your dodgy gear, mate. Anyway, this girl, we'll keep her name secret for anonymity purposes. Halfway through the night she realised she'd lost a hearing aid. He knows what's coming. She lost a hearing aid, so Miller set about the task of trying to find it for her. And locate, well, he found what he thought was the hearing aid down the back of the couch. And being the gentleman he is, he offered to put it back in for her. And then proceeded to stuff a chip into her ear. A chip, as in one that you get from the chip shop with your fish and chips. Never saw that girl again. True story that, ladies and gentlemen. True story. I'll be honest with you, I've only known Tony for about 7 years now, so I've had some help from this speech from his mates. Don't get me wrong, he's done lots of stupid things in the town.
Want to tell me the rest of that story or not?
It's been really best stuff. You have to go back a bit further. Now, I've asked his old mates for a bit of material, and one of the things they've asked me to do is mention 2 particular things. First one, funnily enough, was his bad dress sense, which I've already touched upon, and we'll which again in a moment. And the second is the fact that he is, and I quote, careful with his pennies, apparently. That's what he say. I don't agree with this one though, because I think it must have cost him a fortune to hire that Willie Carson for the wedding ceremony. I know he's already said that gag, but it was in my speech, so I thought I'd leave it. You reckon he gets it from his our fella, you know? Story goes, and I can't verify this one, but apparently Yankee, when he was a kid, Yankee had a payphone installed in the house. Is that right? I'm only saying what I've been told. A payphone installed in the house. But he did install a second line in the bedroom for Tony. Phone up there, it wasn't a payphone. It was one of them old types with the dials on. But apparently Yankee took the dial off the phone. Is that right, Yankee? Happy days, happy days. At least I'm not lying, I can't accuse of being a liar anyway. Oh, Andy O'Neill fiddled it, did he? That does surprise me. Right, I'll tell you about another time. Time when Tony was on his first ever lads holiday. And he was on a beach chatting to a girl he'd met. And I have to tone this one down a little bit for Sue. But let's just say he was chatting to this girl on the beach, naked. That is toned down, mate, you weren't chatting. Anyway, he left his clothes on the beach on one of these sun loungers. And the story goes that while he's there chatting with this girl, some crazy Spanish geezer ran up and robbed his gear. Now, I know what you're thinking. Robbed his gear? There must be some mixed up Spanish Tony Miller out there somewhere. I'm telling you. That's not the end of the story. The girl he was chatting with kindly lent him her trainers, which, by all accounts, were 2 sizes too small for Miller. But, rather than buy a new pair on his holiday, he wore that girl's trainers for the rest of the holiday. I don't know. Could be a minge bag, you know, it could be a minge bag. I'd just like to say a little thanks to Andy O'Neill for some of that material. Thanks very much, Andy. We are getting to the end of this, by the way, soon. 2 pages left. Now, anyone who knows Tony well, especially his mates, they know how much of a competitor he is. Fierce competitor. Whether it's sport, women,